Chapter 2. Shall we go on? I ended up not being able to avoid the realm shift as I wondered about my family on the other side of the veil. Jeremiah and Sean finally surfaced from hiding after their honeymoon. They weren't given much choice as the canines were running rampant. As it turns out, the canine sanctuary caretaker disappeared and all the residents, as he called the canines living there, took off out of the open gate. As the search and roundup went on, the guys noticed me sitting off near a window. I was tapping away at a computer only I could see. Well, it was invisible until they walked up to me, at least. Alone in a corner room that had long been closed in, I sat. One of the guard dogs had taken up residence in front of the door, a section of wall with a secret panel. The guests had been exploring, which upset the guards. However, as the masters of the house appeared, they calmed down some. Then one guest approached the wall and noticed what it really was meant to be. Just as Jeremiah and Sean stopped next to the curious man, he pulled on the secret switch, revealing the room and me. "This room is the spot where we were found as children," Jeremiah commented with great incredulity, just as I came into view behind a pile of boxes. My mind swam with memories as they spoke of, as well as much else. I was dizzy with fatigue and wonderment. All at once, we went to the Nexus Zone where my dear Michael was, as well. My angel friends joined and were happy to be in the same plane as us. The knowledge of what I had found was available to them, and they were thrilled. They understood who, what, and where of the painful masters. Some called them archons, others demons, or even also vampires. As the guardian angel soldiers went to deal with the last remaining queen in the reality realm, we began to relax finally. Things really felt like they were coming together in the next stage of the game we have been in for what seems like forever. Where were we right now? Our suite inside the life section of the family ship was cozy enough. Of course, the suite was more like the shuttle I refused to leave. It is okay, though, because now we are well hidden. I chuckled to Jeremiah's real name. Well, that's for sure, so are we. I like the idea of hiding in plain sight. No one expects it. The only thing was it felt like 1,000 angels were crying all at once with a cleansing release. It didn't help I felt a power switch to me from someone else. I felt both honored and guilty as it left someone without. However, when the source makes a decision, it's abided by, of course. I sat quietly peering out of the window aimlessly as fatigue set in. I had been cut off from the others in many ways for my own protection, and even though I knew it was for the better, I still felt alone somehow. Someone in the distance referred to me as boss, and only aided in making the feeling stronger. It can be lonely at the top. Doesn't help when the boss feels like the only one doing an effective job is her. Especially when that power source makes the chosen one a target. Neither does it when the chosen ones are killed by jealous archon vamps. I could hear the conversation to some degree and decided to add my own feelings to the matter. I sensed a feeling of surprise mixed with anger that I was being praised at all. Some even said I was a deceiver, and in a sense that was true. I was an undercover Angel internal affairs officer, after all. Of course, that did make me a watcher and unpopular, but at least I wasn't alone in that matter. Nearly all of God's soldiers were to some degree. But to be their boss meant I had standards to uphold. Part of my mind couldn't shake the feeling being used, but by whom was the question. Then again, someone had programmed my mind to think that paranoid. My dear friend was a victim of Arkham vamps and was healing from being nearly drained to death. The old masters were good for that, which was one reason the source moved between the top Archon angels until it too seemed to disappear. Although it didn't, it just had to await another chosen one source to be born. Most couldn't handle the full source, as the amount of energy involved was immense. It took an electric being or a rose star descendant to do that task, and only a small handful existed. Thankfully, for most, their own starseed DNA connection allowed them to access the divine within already. And all that was needed was to trust the light of love afforded by God. One of the enemy informants said they had been searching for specific qualifications of the Absolute One. That one inevitably gave her himself away just by innocently being her himself, like I do. Not that I am the Absolute, but to them, I am a good suspect for the Source's vessel of communication. I just wish in some respects the crap that happens in my life would stop. I don't buy the fact that is what I put out and get back every time either, considering I heard that some light workers were getting money from the St. Germain Fund. They get paid because money was stolen from light workers. Only it's not going to the ones it was stolen from, is it? Nope, just their favorites for all their hard work. Yeah, spreading terroristic threats and disinformation meant to confuse, while the ones who deserve the money don't get anything but shit in life. Because the greedy assholes run the world. And every time I speak to the Cat Council, I feel pissed and drained. Now I can't do this crap anymore because so few are following the rules. There might as well not be any rules. Yeah, they want to claim to be angels of light, but they don't want a real boss. Just one they could drain love from like a battery. I quit. I ended their conversation with a frustrated comment. I didn't have the source feeling because the council fools demanded angels for each of them and got them. They got their way again, which sucks. Just proves I am still a fool too. As I sit with little money to pay my stuff and vampires draining me of love at every turn, I grew pissed because all do for them and I get treated this way. It's all a sham. I'm tired of being some portal and feeding post that doesn't get respect nor keep rewards like they keep promising, only to be drained. I need a love refill, they say. Well, look elsewhere, fools. We needed time to heal, as most of us had been dealing with vampires, which really pissed off the others. What really pissed off the others was that many of the angels had been bitten in a sense. That's how the enemy works. Find the ones with powers and drain them, especially if it's an archangel of justice. It's been happening a long time, and the main reason our side is yet to win. I sent out a notice to all the angels listening, reminding them of how they were free to come and go. They didn't have to stay where they were if they felt like leaving, as they weren't slaves. No one could order them around. Everyone has free will. Even if they act on false information, everyone suffers the consequences of those actions independently. Word spread of my vampire warning as well, so the angels left their charges in droves. That's one reason people have to call for an angel in prayer. That way, the few angels left don't get tainted needlessly. At some point, I looked up from my dozing and saw Sean talking to another man. My mind swam, trying to think of his name, so he told me telepathically, I am Jeremiah Phoenix. The other gentleman was the angel you thought he was, and is in you as is the other. I was partially confused, but understood despite the insanity involved. End of chapter 2.